Good evening, I'm Jess De Los Santos. The big stories tonight. Lawmakers failed to pass the bill extending the Bayanihan Act. Lawmakers who previously supported the anti-terror bill are now flagging certain provisions that they say could infringe on civil rights. COVID-19 cases in the Philippines exceed 20,000. And the Trade Department tells online sellers to publish prices of their goods. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, warns manning agencies who abandon prospective Filipino migrant workers that they might face charges of human trafficking. Several applicants have been camping out at the NAIA, waiting to go home to their provinces after their deployment was halted because of the global health crisis. Gerard de la Peña tells us more.
Mary Joy has been sleeping on a large piece of cardboard ever since she came to the airport on Tuesday night. She, along with almost 100 prospective OFWs from Mindanao, have been in Metro Manila since February to facilitate their deployment as domestic workers in Qatar. But a lockdown happened, and after 4 months, they got the chance to be able to go back home as domestic flights resumed.
Yung may kami, yung kasama namin, may agent na kakilala na matutulong sa amin papaalis papuntang probinsya. Kaya nagpapakasakali rin kami. Kasi 3 buwan na kami stranded eh. 2 araw na kami hiram talaga dito sa Manila kung walang pera. Yung pamilya namin padala ng buwan-buwan sa amin dito. Wala naman doon sa probinsya, hirap din naman kami. Kaya uwi na lang kami para makatulong kami doon sa pamilya namin.
With limited resources, the stranded applicants are also trying to find ways to secure documents such as medical clearances and travel passes that are required by their local government units.
Problema po talaga naman ngayon, paano na kumuha ng medical certificate sa travel authority para makauwi po kami agad. Kasi nang humingi kami ng tulong sa LGU namin, yun po ang sabi nila para makauwi po kami, para mapubok kami agad nila ng ticket.
The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration said manpower agencies handling the stranded applicants will be charged with human trafficking for abandoning them.
Kailangan panagutin ito ng mga recruitment agencies at papangalanan namin sila sa MADLA at saka sa POEA in the coming days. Dahil responsibility din nila na pauwiin o ayusin at least yung paninirahan ng mga OFW, yung mga tao na mga rini-recruit nila bilang OFWs na hindi naman natuloy yung proseso.
The passengers, mostly from North Cotabato and Davao, will be flown back to their provinces under the government's Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program. Meanwhile, swab testing for arriving OFWs has resumed after more than a day of suspension due to lack of testing kits. Those who arrived on Tuesday might have to stay longer at government-accredited quarantine facilities as they have yet to undergo testing.
Kailangan ngayon magsagawa ng swab testing other than the airport, which means either sa hotels o dun sa mga swabbing centers katulad nung dati. That overall impact is mukhang matatagalan ng kaunti sa stay sa quarantine facilities, but we're hoping na mas mabilis ngayon ang labas ng resulta.
The IATF also announced that other international gateways such as the Clark International Airport will be open for arriving OFWs. Manning agencies may opt to contract private laboratories for swab testing. Other overseas Filipinos who are not migrant workers may also go to private hospitals to be tested. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
The Bayanihan to Heal as One Act expires tomorrow, and with President Duterte saying he won't certify as urgent the measure that would have had extended it, the next question now is, how will the government extend aid to those severely affected by the global health crisis? Should lawmakers decide to hold special sessions for the Bayanihan to Recover as One bill, the Senate has already introduced amendments to the so-called Bayanihan 2 bill. Mian Los Baños tells us more.
The Bayanihan to Heal as One Act allocated 5,000 to 8,000 peso monthly aid for poor households for 2 months. But in the newly crafted Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, lawmakers took out the amount earmarked for the amelioration program and how many households should receive it. Instead, the subsidy received from the current conditional cash transfer and rice subsidy shall be taken into consideration in the computation of the total emergency subsidy. The new bill also calls for a faster validation of the list of beneficiaries beneficiaries to expedite the distribution of the financial aid. There are also some changes from the first version of the bill where it was indicated that an involuntary separation assistance amounting to 10,000 pesos will be given to the displaced workers like probationary, project-based, seasonal, contractual, and casual employees. But when the bill went through the period of amendments last night, the amount of the subsidy was also deleted. Senator Sonny Angara explained that they will give the implementing agencies elbow room to decide on how much financial aid will be given to the beneficiaries.
The DOF said that it might be too big financially. We're leaving it to the executors or the implementers of the law, whether it's CHED in the case of the educational institutions and the educational subsidies. They're given leeway, some elbow room to prescribe, depending on our financial capacity, what assistance to give. But nonetheless, the nature of the support and subsidy is still there, Mr. President.
Prior to the amendments, it was also indicated that there will be a 3,000 to 8,000 peso tuition subsidy for qualified students, but the Senate also opted to delete this amount. Meanwhile, some new provisions were added to the bill. That includes loan assistance and discounts to schools, universities, teachers, and students, which may be used to purchase computers, laptops, and tablets for distance learning. The compensation for health workers provided under the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act was retained. But Senator Ralph Recto added another provision dictating that the compensation should be released not more than 90 days since the confinement or death of the health worker due to COVID-19. The standby fund was also significantly decreased from 236 billion pesos to 140 billion pesos. The allocations will also include procurement of test kits and medical supplies and allotments for the Cash for Work and Tupad program of DOLE. There will also be subsidies for displaced workers of different sectors severely hit by COVID-19 pandemic.
130 ang sinasabi ng executive branch, nakakayanin lang nila. Alam mo, Mayan, spending authority lang itong binibigay natin. Maski pa sabihin namin 1 trilyon ang gusto namin, at kung kayang gastusin ng gobyerno, piso lang yung ilalabas nilang pera.
Reporting for News 5, Mayan Los Baños, We Are One News.
Muntinlupa City Representative Rufy Biazon, one of the authors of the anti-terror bill, voted against the measure's passage in the lower house. He also withdrew his sponsorship of the bill. Speaking on One News's agenda with Cito Beltran, Biazon said he did not have a change of heart and still feels the country needs a better anti-terrorism measure. But the congressman does not agree with the House merely adopting the Senate version of the bill and depriving his colleagues the opportunity to propose amendments.
So as an individual author, I felt that I can take the heat if I know that it is the work of my hands. That version was the product of the deliberations in the Senate. Now, not to put down the Senate, of course, the Senate is a co-equal body. But the difference between the Senate and the House is that in the House, where we have around 300 congressmen, district representatives, party list representatives, and we have the Makabayan bloc, who is expected, of course, to really scrutinize intensely the bill. And I think in a democracy, that's essential. You have to make a decision. So that was the decision I made in the end, to not support the bill and in fact request that my authorship would be withdrawn.
Biazon also had concerns with how the bill gives the Anti-Terrorism Council, or ATC, the power to determine probable cause to identify terrorists. He said this is not how the authors envisioned it to be.
Pwede na pumasa, sabi ka nga sa ganyan, ano? Pero pwede pang i-refine para matiyak na mas maigi. So, specifically, ang nasa isip ko noon was to insert into that provision a phrase that the determination of probable cause by the public prosecutor or the court would be the trigger for the designation of terrorists.
It's not just Congressman Rufy Biazon who's bothered by the anti-terror bill that his colleagues have passed. Other lawmakers are also up in arms over the measure. House Deputy Minority Leader and Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate appealed to his fellow legislators to reassess their votes.
They can call for reconsideration. Alam mo, napagtanto nila, alam mo, mamaya sa session namin, kung merong kami kasamahan, no, na parang on the road to Damascus ay naisip niya na mali pala yung pagboto niya, no, ng yes, no, ay pwedeng siyang tumayo mamaya at ipa-reconsider yung passing ng anti-terror bill, no, while it was already voted on third reading kagabi. So allowed naman yan sa aming rules, no, kaya nananawagan kami kung merong, although sasabihin nila suntok sa buwan yan, pero we'll never know.
Basilan Representative Mujib Hataman also urged other lawmakers to listen to those who have first-hand experience dealing with violent extremists. He decried the fact that neither chamber thought to consult with experts in the Muslim community before passing the bill. The congressman lamented that the anti-terror bill is vague enough to make the public vulnerable to the caprices of authorities.
Hanggat maaari, ayaw natin ito maging open to interpretation. Ayaw nating ipatupad sa iba't ibang paraan. Depende sa huwisyo ng pagpapatupad. Depende sa politika niya o depende sa ganda ng gising niya sa araw na iyon.
We're getting information that several other lawmakers are changing their yes or abstain votes to no. But based on News 5 sources of the House, they are way too few to junk the controversial measure. Malacanang has given government agencies until Tuesday to make sure families of fallen health workers get the compensation that the law has promised them. Senator Bongo, President Duterte's longtime aide, slammed the Health, Budget and Labor Departments for the delayed release of sickness and death benefits.
Mag-usap-usap naman kayo at mag-coordinate kayo sa isa't isa. Marahil hindi po alam ng Pangulo. Patay-patayan kayo. Ngayon, na-expose na sa publiko ang problema. Mag-i-issue kayo ng joint issuance para implement ang isang bagay na noon pa ninyo dapat ginawa.
Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire said a joint administrative order on the matter has already been signed. Vergeire added that they are already contacting those who are qualified for their remuneration.
Amin din pong ibinabalita na sa kasalukuyan ay nakapanayam na po at nakipag-ugnayan na ang Department of Health sa mga pamilya ng naulila na 32 healthcare workers upang magabayan po sila sa pagsasubmit ng mga dokumento na kinakailangan sa pag-claim ng benefits na ito.
We'll pause for a short break, but when the big story returns, the DTI tells online sellers PM is not the key. And COVID cases in the Philippines breach the 20,000 mark. I'm Jess De Los Santos, and you're still watching The Big Story. Coronavirus infections in the Philippines breached the 20,000 mark on Thursday. The Health Department tallied more than 600 new cases this afternoon. Half of those are fresh cases, while the other half were reported late. 10 more people lost the battle to COVID-19 overnight. The national death toll is now inching closer to 1,000. At least 90 patients recovered from the disease in the past 24 hours. So far, more than 4,000 people have gotten better from the SARS-like disease. The Trade Department tells online sellers PM is not the key. The agency warns them that failure to publish prices of goods is illegal. Shaila Francisco tells us more.
Ang bait ba after 2 days?
Laura now doubts online sellers who are asking customers to message them for prices of goods. During the start of the ECQ, she tried to buy face masks online and dealt with a seller through private messages, only to be scammed days later. The seller deactivated her account. Later on, the same seller sold the same products online again, but she discovered from a relative that the prices have jumped by 500 pesos.
Nakakainis talaga kasi una sa lahat, sobrang time consuming for the both parties siya. Kaysa malaman mo na agad yung presyo, mapapa-PM ka pa at saka matatagalan pa yung mauunsumi pa yung bili mo. Ibibigay pa sa'yo through message lahat ng information na kailangan mo. Paano kung talagang kailangan mo na and nagmamadali ka tapos hindi ka pa sure kung totoo tong seller na to.
Online shopping became a hit during the start of the ECQ, with sellers resorting to digital marketplaces to increase sales. But customers complain that instead of posting prices, they are often greeted with phrases like PM is the key or PM for price, worse, PM sent. Well, the Trade Department says PM is not the key. It's illegal and could be considered profiteering. The agency urges consumers to report these practices to the agency.
Kailangan pag in-advertise nila yung produkto, nakapost rin yung presyo. It's a violation of the Price Act kung walang price tag. Price Act does not distinguish between online and physical selling.
The DTI is now working on building a registry for online sellers. The DTI also reminds sellers that products being sold online are still covered by the suggested retail price or SRPs. Currently, the SRPs remain unchanged since last year and may be updated by end June or July.
Tinitingnan na natin kung paano tayo makakapag-adjust considering yung pagbaba ng fuel noon, kaya lang at the same time, kailangan i-consider din yung pagtaas naman ng logistics costs.
Meanwhile, delivery and supply of goods are stabilizing in markets, with some stocks good for up to 3 months. Supermarket owners also observed that panic buying has died down.
Ngayong nag-open up na, medyo hindi pa normal, pero nadagdagan ng supply, nadagdagan ng deliveries, no? Prices have relatively stayed stable. Medyo kampante ang tao, hindi na nag-panic buy.
With this, the DTI is looking to lift the limit on the purchase of some goods. It capped the number of some essential items shoppers can buy back in March to discourage hoarding and regulate supply. This is a welcome development for Nelson, who has to go to the grocery 4 times a week to replenish stocks in his sari-sari store.
Actually, mahirap siya, kaya nga umitim na po ako. Pero kailangan din talaga na makabili kami para sa yung bumibili din sa amin. Kahit kukunti ang kikitain, nakakatulong din. Sa pabalik-balik namin, baka mamaya makaano pa kami o makahawa kami o mawaan kami ng may COVID. Yun ang sa amin So talagang makakatulong ng malaki.
Manufacturers and supermarket owners also said this will help them recover losses during the ECQ. This may also help to normalize supply and demand in supermarkets. Shaila Francisco, VR1 News.
School supply vendors in Divisoria normally earn more during this time of the year when students should be preparing for the new school year. But because physical classes are not allowed amid the pandemic, vendors are struggling to break even. Marian Enriquez with the story.
It should be back to school season, and before the pandemic, Divisoria is the place to go to for cheap school supplies and uniforms. But due to the quarantine, the government does not allow the traditional face-to-face learning, and several stores that sell school supplies opted to remain closed. Some shops, though, decided to try out their luck after more than 2 months of being shattered. Mean Sabala, one of the vendors, said they are now just depending on their sale of scrub suits since no one is buying uniforms. She shared that during this period last year, they were making at least 30,000 pesos in sales a day. But now, they were making at least 30,000 pesos in sales a day. But now, sales plummeted to just around 1,000 pesos per day.
Mahirap lalo. Umpisa ngayon, wala pa talaga, walang talagang namimili. Nag-aabang na lang kung mayroong mga buyer na tawag, ganun. Kasi may mga suki din kami probinsya, doon na lang kumbaga umaasa.
In Santo Cristo Street, where many school supply stores are found, owners have decided to sell other items to expand their sources of revenue. Belen shared that these deck of playing cards are what's in demand in her store. This other store, meanwhile, had turned their supposed school supplies into a general merchandise store. The owner shared that though they still sell huge volumes of bond paper and plastic covers, they have to find something else to add to their dwindling sales. Now, they sell batteries, shoe glue, adhesive tapes, bingo sets, and disposable face masks.
Talagang mas mahina ngayon. Mahina ngayon kasi wala naman masyadong pumupunta dito para mamimili. Hindi kagaya ng nakaraang taon na yung pag ganitong season talagang sobrang dami bumibili. Ngayon, wala pa, isa-isa lang yung customer.
These store workers felt that they too are among those worst hit by the coronavirus crisis. However, they still remain optimistic that their sales and customers would return to normal. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
These are the other big stories today. President Rodrigo Duterte wants more buses on the road around Metro Manila after commuters were stranded because of limited public transportation. Starting tomorrow, the LTFRB will open up new bus routes between Monumento and Balagtas, Bulacan, EDSA to Montalban, Rizal, and the NAIA Loop. And by Monday, buses should be plying the routes between Monumento and BGC, Gilmore to Taytay, Rizal, and Monumento to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Maynilad reminds its customers that they will receive a transitional bill this June. This will reflect actual billing and consumption for the months of March, April, May, and June 2020. Again, it's just one printout for all those months. Payments made during the ECQ will already be subtracted from the total bill. Maynilad customers are granted an extension to settle their dues. Lifeline customers, those who consume 10 cubic meters per month or less, have until August 31st, while non-Lifeline customers, those who consume more than 10 cubic meters per month, have until July 31st to pay the bill. And House Bill 6815, or the Accelerated Recovery and Investment Stimulus for the Economy, otherwise known as ARISE Bill, has hurdled the House on the third and final reading. The measure aims to help and protect up to 15 million workers, open up 3 million short-term employment opportunities, and 1.5 million infrastructure jobs, as well as assist up to 5.5 million MSMEs in a span of 3 years. The program will cost the government about 3.6% of the country's GDP, or 688 billion pesos on its first year. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Stay with us here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos, and you're still watching The Big Story. After more than a month of investigation, the NBI files complaints against a policeman and 4 others over the death of Winston Ragos, a mentally ill ex-soldier. Marlene Alcaide with a story.
The Investigation Bureau on Thursday filed murder, perjury, and planting of evidence charges against Daniel Florendo, the policeman who killed Winston Ragos, a former soldier. The NBI Death Investigation Division filed the same charges against 4 other police trainees who were involved in the incident. To recall, Ragos was shot twice by Police Master Sergeant Florendo during a heated argument near a quarantine checkpoint in Quezon City about 2 months ago. According to the police report, Florendo opened fire when Ragos pulled out his firearm from a sling bag. But witnesses said Ragos, who was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, was unarmed. The NBI corroborated this, saying the evidence might have been planted.
We filed planting of evidence. The Bureau finds sufficient reason and sufficient evidence na wala nga pong baril itong si Ragos at the time that he was shot and even after the incident.
A murder case has also been filed after the NBI found out Ragos was shot dead even after bystanders repeatedly told the cops that he was unarmed.
Nakakuha po ng sufficient na ebidensya ang Bureau na ang pagpatay ay attended po ng qualifying circumstances na ayon sa batas, katulad po ng treachery at abuse of superior strength. As to the details of how we come about with treachery and abuse of superior strength, we will let the Office of the Prosecutor of Quezon City review, investigate, and appreciate the pieces of evidence submitted by the NBI.
Merlin, mother of Ragos, is thankful to the NBI. They earlier filed a homicide case against Florendo and 4 others, but it was returned by the court for further investigation.
Basta nagpapasalamat po ako sa mga sir ng NBI.
Ano pong panawagan ninyo po dun sa sinabi ng police na self-defense lang yung ginawa nila dati?
Alam po nila yun sa sarili nila kung anong katotohanan.
Meanwhile, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, the lawyer of the suspect, said they are ready to face the charges.
Ginawa po ng NBI, hindi pa naman po kaso yan. That is a mere criminal complaint before the prosecution office. At yan pong sinasabi nilang murder, planting of evidence, perjury, etc. Yan po ay kailangan patunayan pa rin po nila sa piskalya at makakuha sila ng probable cause.
For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
The University of the Philippines inches up in the latest Times Higher Education Asia University rankings. UP climbed 30 points from 95th in 2019 to 65th in 2020, while the De La Salle University slid down to the 301 to 350 bracket from 251 to 300 in 2019. The two universities are the only higher education institutions from the Philippines that were included in the list. Two Chinese universities are Asia's best, with Tsinghua University topping the list and Peking University climbing 3 places to rank second. The Asia University rankings base its scores on various performance indicators, which include teaching, research, citations, international outlook, and industry income. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Jesse De Los Santos. We are One News. Good evening.
Ang tagal lang kasi ng biyahe kung wala pa tang flight.